So, okay, I'm back with story time, and this time, I'm gonna break down how we got to the original Architeckz, right? How Architeckz broke up, and how we became the first like three major groups, which is the Architeckz, Animaniakz, Turfn. So first, I got to start this off by saying this: Jarrell Bay, shout out to him and what he did for the turf dance world, but online, if you look, see some articles and some things may say like Jarrell Bay is known as one of the creators of turf dancing. Jarrell is by far not even close to being a creator of turf dance or anything that has to do with any dance of turfing at all. Okay, not even close. So turfing been around since like niggas were doing turf dance moves in like the early 90s. If you want to talk about what turf dance is, which specific turfs has specific dances they had. Dudes that are known for hitting it and gigging started appearing in the mid 90s. Those are dudes that could do dances from different turfs, but also like just had the town gigging and swag, a bounce sliding, and they do other things with it. That's what the people you see now is called turf dancers. We really people that used to back in the day, they would be like you was hitting it or gigging, like Oakland, that's some town shit for somebody to be like, hit that shit, bro, you ain't gonna hit it, shit like that. That's how it used to be back in the day. So we used to be calling hitting it. So Jarrell, but when he came to the bottoms, and I know he was messing with the two youngsters, Champ, rest in peace, Meech, and Scooby. So he met them in like 15, 16ish. He didn't even peep and understand that. At that time, I was already like 20, about to be 21, me, Shep, and all of us that like the town turfing been popular forever. It's been DJ Marcus, been spinning in functions. At this point in time, we was already in music videos by the time we even heard of that when Rel came around. So he has a lot to do with the turfing movement and teaching, and I'm gonna get into that, but nothing to do with creation of turf dancing. If you see anything about him being a creator of turf dancing, it's 100% cap. And that's on everything, bro. That's on everything, 100% cap. He ain't make up not a motherfucking thing. So, except, we'll get into the acronym of turf dancing. Not even that word, okay? So, Architeckz, like I said, me and Shep got introduced to NUP, and we was going to do our thing on our own. Shep was the one who brought up the idea to bring Dav in there. So, I'm like, he called me, I'm like, cool. Dav, cool. We knew him back in the day, but we knew Dav different than people know him now. We weren't like, I wasn't like hearing of Dav. He's from Hayward. You feel me? I'm from the town. Sterling is Dav's like Dav's cousin. So Sterling used to go back and tell Dav about niggas that was saucy around. We went to Tech. So, Dav used to hear about like Gaga. He used to hear about me, Shep later on. And that's out of Sterling and stuff. Then he started seeing us when we used to go to like city nights and parties. So Dav, I used to fuck with him because he was a studier of the dance. He had a different style, but it still looked like what we was doing, but it was like his own thing, which I liked. He was creative. But he always used to watch us and then be knowing what niggas' moves do. Because he'd be at the club and be like, Renee, hit the drums. I had a move where like I'm walking like I'm playing drums or something. Like Shaq used to have like a scooter move, and he used to, Dav would be calling it out while you dancing or chewing somebody. Dav would know. He'd be like, bro, hit this. Like, he was cool like that, but he was raw. He was coming up. So Shep was like, yo, remember dude Dav, I think we should bring him along, whatever. Okay, we brought him along. We to us three now. We already did a Baby Bash video. We already on the Federation tournament and all that, right? Told y'all that in my last video. So when Dav brought me to the show downtown that Rel and them was doing, Shawnee Bo was there, Sale was there, Jack, Meech, Scooby. And he was like, bro, this is the group I've been messing with and organized dudes we be messing with. And Dad was like, I think it could intertwine with what we doing because it's on the same thing. But he trying to grab all the raw people around the Bay and make like a super dance team. We like, oh, that sound kind of lit. Me and Shep kind of reluctant to the idea at first because we like, bro, you know what? We already on our own thing making money doing things with these dudes. We don't want to feel obligated like to have to get them shows and be like, and now have to change the way we work because you get in a group, eventually it's going to be some people feeling some type of way because we always on tour, we always going to do something, we getting paid, but now we're in the same group. And so they're going to be looking like, or we're responsible for people's pockets then. You get what I mean? So we're kind of like, all right, we want to do it, but let's not intertwine on our business. Let's keep our stuff over here and see what we can do with the group, one. So we came in the group differently than everybody else. We was already making money, had our own thing going in videos and shit. So we technically didn't need the Architeckz if for like that part, you feel me? Because we was already doing our thing. We saw it as a different version, like a super team of raw people that we were being sold on the city versus city battles. Like, man, get all the best people from the town. And we gonna go battle the LA dudes. Like we battled the Crumpers. It happened. We battled these other styles, and turf dancing was trying to be like the king of styles. I get that idea. Shout out to Rail. So Rail, bam, Architeckz is there. He got the youngsters. So we joined the Architeckz. The team started growing and grows so big to where it's like plus 20. And you got to separate into the A team, B team, which basically means the A team's like the older cats who are more experienced and were certain age levels could do certain things. And you got the younger cats who's like 15, 13, they're young. They can only do stuff like birthday parties. So a riff starter is already going to grow because you got the older cats can do all the flashy shit you see on TV, music videos, club shit. We can tour because we're older. We're not allowed to. We're not in school. And if we're in college, you can work with that. You know what I mean? These kids ain't in school. So they got to do the parties, birthday parties and all that don't even pay that much. So they're either not getting paid or they getting paid a little like $25 here for they this and this and that. So with kids, they already thinking it's already a rift being created, right? And on top of that, the communication sometimes is like, you got people talking. If somebody hearing that, the total show was 500, and then they counting, well, only 3 of us dance, and you got Rail or something like that. Let's say that's 4 people. They're like, how come we all can't get 125 apiece? And they're probably like, well, why are we getting 50? And so a lot of the time, business wasn't really being taught and explained, transparently enough. So that started creating risk also between the age groups. Between us, it was other things going on too. Like, it started off as us dancing, trying to be a super group. Then it started turning into being like pushed towards spirituality in certain ways. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to educate your young black dudes, your young black children about black law and all that. But now when you come into practice and then you having let's have an hour of study time, and it's starting to seem like you're getting reprimanded for not wanting to be in those study times, studying the black laws or going over these other things that have nothing to do with the dance culture that you're trying to push, right? You have to watch how you want to talk to kids about certain things and engage with them about certain things, because you can't make people start feeling like, wait a minute, what is this? This shit turned into a code now? Like now it's a dance to do all this. I got to do this. So you have people thinking that way, right? Because you're young and young minds. Sometimes you're not seeing the greater picture. Maybe somebody is just saying, hey, you need discipline here. We need to be organized. We need to look a certain way. But, you don't want to be also going to practice and then you're getting nationality card talk pushed on you and things that maybe you're not even maybe ready for or care about. You got to understand some people, there's over 300 different religious spiritualities here, right? Not everybody wants to do the same thing or should be under what you want to do. So that's another angle. So what happens is communication and lack of transparency starts making things muggy. So if that can happen on the youngster end, for the older end, think about it too. You be hearing things like, oh man, you seeing things also. This is how much the show get. This is how much we getting. But there's no discussions, right? There should be discussion of like percentages, how much what is this going to, what does the company get, the company pot for getting shirts, for rehearsals, for practices. Things of that nature need to be discussed. So we were all younger, and Rail was in his probably 30s, and when I was like 20 or something. So there's a lot of business shit that was not being fully discussed and fully put out there like we think it should be. So those rifts those little rifts just became a little bit too much, right? And so the older cats, what we started doing and thinking was like, hey, why do we need this? Right? When especially me and Shepard was like, bro, we was already doing all this on our own, right? So why do we need to feel this, to sit under this umbrella and follow these orders and follow Jarrell's dream of what he had when it really wasn't aligning with what we wanted to do after a while? It just wasn't. It was just too much hypocrisy here and there and people not pay what they're supposed to and the secrets and, ulterior motives and us going, and it's like, you want to go to practice, but now you sitting here and feeling like you just at a mosque or something, it's like, there's a lot of things that were like, started looking like predatory behavior when you preying on somebody and you're trying to put them in an organization, literally, right? So why we get into it is because, that shit start hitting the fan, right? And it just got to the point to where it got so bad that niggas really was like, well, we were really trying to move towards pushing and leaving. One thing is just like it wasn't after a while, a lot of credit wasn't given either. Like even for the name Turf Dance, right? Taking up room on the floor. Jarrell made that acronym, right? But how do you even get there is because we had a meeting. We was in the cafeteria at Mac. It was me, Shep, and Jarrell. Kiwi was in the background because she was going to Mac at the time doing something. I cannot remember, but Kiwi was there. And Jarrell was talking to us saying that we can't call it hit that shit or hitting it because it doesn't look right, when you want to market and brand yourself. Went to school for marketing and all that. He, what I'm saying? Like I said, he worked in LA, worked Motown. He knew the business that way. So he was like, even with the name Turf Dancing, it sounds a little bit too ghetto. We need to find a way to clean it up to make it sound more marketable. So before the Turf Dancing thing, he asked, well, what is it really called? And Shep was the one who was like, oh, it's called Turfn. Well, we all know what Turfn really is, but we were, if we're not going to call it hitting that shit or hit that or gigging, then it was like, well, turfing could be the blanket name because niggas do turf dances from different turf, represent Oakland. It made a lot of sense. So Jarrell said that still needed to be cleaned up more so it wouldn't be like sounding like, was attached to the hood. So bam, that's when he came up with the acronym, taking up room on the floor. That's what Jarrell came up with, and it fit, people still use it to this day. So that's what he came up with. So back to getting more context, what happened. Shep and Rel, man, we used to politic, talk a lot, talk about the group, and Rel used to put us on. He helped me teach me choreography how to count, so I could start learning how to put turf dances in choreo. So I was one of the first people to start being able to teach that way. That's why I expanded so quickly, and people started knowing Rawnay amongst the youngsters because I started teaching so many of them. That's why I know so many. A lot of groups started from my dance classes, but Rel put us in those positions to start learning how to teach for those who took it, and not a lot of us did. I know I did. So, all these workings are going on, right? While this is the Architeckz, but the like I said, the lack of communication started getting so bad that they start really getting into it. Then you throw in the center, who we were the original dancers that was us up at that center, right? This is before there was a Turfns and stuff. And then this is when the Turfns was just about to come because we were splitting up from the Architeckz. We got to the center as the Architeckz, but it was in the midst of us kind of splitting up. They had a meeting and they tried to salvage the group. And they were like, wanted us to sign some contracts to me that would lock us in with the center and, be in the main group there, throwing battles and doing all that. To me, it looked cool, but some of us didn't want to sign them, not just because it was a bad deal. It was also what was going on. Right, needed to be cleared before we came to this new deal. It was like how you present something new, but there's so much mess underneath that looked suspect to some people because you need to clean up the mess first, clean up house first. Then you come with the new deal and start talking about, oh, this is what it looked like, because it wasn't really that bad. But the thing that messed it up was how they came about it. Because was it Buddy and Alice back then? They mentioned a comment something like, and if you guys don't do this and sign this, we got another young group of cats that's right there behind y'all hungry that'll be ready and willing to do this opportunity. So they kind of like made a threat right there. And then, come on, man, we grown, we from the town too. We ain't trying to hear all that, man. So once that happened, it was like, nigga, what? You got a who and what? What they really were talking about was the younger Architeckz that end up becoming the Turfns. They were going to grab them and put them in the same position that they said they was going to have for us. And they said they'd make sure that we'd never dance around there again and boom, boom, boom. It literally got that. I have some group members come up here and vouch for it under the comments. I had Shep, DeAndre, Shiny, anybody that was at that meeting could come vouch under the comments and say I'm not lying. So same time during that meeting, they was kind of like trying to have Rel back during that because they felt the pull away. Dorian, man, was there helping Rails. Shout out, Dorian ended up becoming our first manager. So what ended up happening was at that meeting, him and Shep, Rel and Shep was just getting into it because Shep was really mad. He was at the stance like, no, bro, because especially that, think about it. I'm going to keep saying this. We was already doing our thing. So he was like, bro, this is crazy what this nigga's what he talking about right now, right? And some of it could have been like I said, just us young and ignorant, not reading through things and seeing somebody's vision and not being able to communicate with them and being like, man, what's going on? Tell me something straight up, da da da. So they getting into it, they arguing. Real must have said something crazy to this. He said like, man, I cannot remember what he said or how he said it, but it was something wild, almost to the effect like I do you in type shit. Man, we had to grab this nigga Shep and hold this nigga back and just sit in the room because, you know, man, Shep is Shep. I was like, that's the wrong thing to say to this nigga. So Shep was finna get on him right then and there, right? So I was like, this the end of this shit. And then after that, it was so weird and that energy was weird. It felt like they were trying to punk us into signing that shit, or not even just signing it, into being there with those two threats, with that real support and then them trying to threaten us with the fiends, the babies, right? And then this is something the fiends probably they don't know because they weren't there. So, man, they got into it, boom. So we had a show going on, right? We was already on the brink, like, bro, this is probably the last shit we do with this man Real. It was in the city, Dorian was there, right? So we at the bar, we getting on the bar, right? This nigga Shep is hot. He was hot the whole time. He was hot the whole next day. So we walking on the bar, right? Shep, I'm walking on last because I already know how he is. That's my boy, bro. We be rocking like, you know, so I know how he get in. I know his mind state. In my mind, nigga, I'm laughing. I'm laughing like a motherfucker. I'm just trying not to laugh out loud. Because I'm like, bro, this finna be bad. We shouldn't even have came on this shit. You should have canceled this shit, Real. Fuck you thinking, right? So this nigga go, be like, hey, yo, man, can I talk to you? This nigga Shep. This nigga Shep. He was like, licked his lips. He looked at the mirror. He said, bro, I'm going to talk to you, but it ain't going to be like the way you want, right? So I'm like, damn, this nigga going to work hard, put his bag down, right? I try to welcome him last because I was like, bro, this nigga might need some support. This nigga going to come back and crack him. I might have to just slide and just, boop, just catch him real quick, right? So this nigga Real was like, all right. This nigga Shep went in, put his bag down. This nigga Real coming in the bar car, walking this way. So this nigga Shep, I don't know how the fuck he got over there so fast. Because it's like at least 9 to 10 of us on the team walking through. That nigga came through and just, cleaned him up. Boo-bopped him real quick. Cleaned him with one shot, just. Cleaned him up. Boom, Real hit the side of the thing. He kind of felt it crumble. And then that nigga, boom, he put the little rag over his face. He ran out. And then we're like, come on, bro. We like, oh, shit, because we got a show to go to. And then from that point, Dorian was there. We was like, that's when we were still Architeckz. We didn't even know the name. We came up with the name that day. And I think we were thinking of names, and it was Dab who was like, we should be the Animaniakz, right? And this happened that day. Then that's when we picked up Dorian and was like, Dorian, be our manager, bro. Because you act a little different energy or whatnot. So on that day, bro, that was when it was like, boom, that was a big split. And what happened was, it was like Architeckz. We wasn't even thinking about it. We took us and we ran Animaniakz. We didn't even tell the rest of the Architeckz really. Everybody found out like days and shit later. We just stopped coming to practice and we started doing our own thing. So look, part 2 is going to be what happened after that. And this is how you got the new Architeckz, the Animaiakz, and the Turfn. You feel me?